Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Generative Geek. Today, we are going to build this nutrition monitor. The way this nutrition monitor works is we have a section where you can put in your files. So it's like an image of the food item you want to analyze. I have a very nice lemon rice here, which I want it to analyze. It will analyze this by sending a request to Google Gemini Pro, right? So behind the scenes, it is sending out this image to Google Gemini Pro, and using the prompt that I have written, it first gives me the meal name and then gives me a very clear breakdown of everything that it sees and how many calories that item has, right? And then it says, hey, this thing has total calories of 767, and whether it's a healthy option or not, how much protein it has, and what are some important details, right? It'll be a fun project. We are going to make use of Google Gemini Pro, which is free, and we are also going to make use of Streamlit in this case. So the app that you see here is a Streamlit app, and it will be a fun project. So let's get started. So I am in my Visual Studio Code environment, and the first thing that we are going to do is create an environment and load all the necessary libraries that are required. So we are going to install all the necessary libraries. In order to do that, once I'm here, I'm going to create a folder, a file called requirements.txt. And one second, I don't know why the right click is not working. Okay, requirements.txt, and here I'm going to say Streamlit. Streamlit is basically the UI of everything that you see here. Maybe the process has died and therefore we got that error. Where including the sections for navigation, the way the image is shown, way the output is shown, all of this is Streamlit. So we'll need Streamlit. I'm also going to need python.env, because this is the library that will help us find all the environment variables that we save, including the secret keys, right, that we are going to put in the .env file. Uh, Next, I'm going to make use of Google Generative AI. This is the library that has all the necessary functions that make call to Google Gemini. So we're going to install this as well. Once you have done this, just do a command shift P. You should see Python create environment. If you don't see it, just go to create environment as a search item and you will see it as part of the results, right? Because I use this so often, it shows up as the top for me. uh, and then I'm going to select VN as a virtual environment. You select the interpreter path. And then because we already have a requirements.txt, I can select this and say, okay, right? So now what is happening is it is creating an environment for me, and it is also installing all the necessary libraries that we have asked it to install. So Streamlit, .env, Google Generative AI, all of these are now getting installed. It generally takes like a minute or two. And once it's done, it'll give you a message saying, hey, the following environment is selected, right? So the way to check it is go to the terminal. And when you go to the terminal, I'm just going to bring this up. If you see this .env, it generally is an indication that everything is settled, right? So, but I'll still do pip freeze. And when you do pip freeze, it'll show you what are the various libraries that are installed as part of this environment. And all you have to do is find if your libraries are there. So I can see Google AI Generative. I can also see Streamlit. Uh, can I see Streamlit? Yes, I can see Streamlit. And I can see Python.env. Uh, Python.env. Yes. So if I see all of these, which were the libraries that I wanted, that means my installation has gone all right, right? So now is the next step is basically we have our requirements.txt settled. I'll just now go out and create a app.py, right? So the app.py is the main file where we are going to do all the coding. And the first step is we're going to install, import the libraries, right? So import Streamlit as st, from .env, import load.env and find.env. I'm going to import OS. I'm also going to import a few other libraries like, we I haven't imported generative AI. So import Google.generative AI as Gen AI. This will be used to make all the calls, like I said. Now, because we are dealing with image, so I'm going to, from pill, I'm going to import image. Next, what I'm going to do is from .env, I'm just going to load the .env file. But because we don't have the .env file, it will be a good time to now create a .env file, right? So create a .env file and create a variable called Google underscore API underscore key. And here within these two quotes, you should paste in your key. I'm going to pause the video here, come back once I've pasted my key. you should use the Google Gemini API key. If you don't know how to get the key, there is a video link popping up right now. You should use that to basically go through it to find how you can get a Google API key for yourself, right? This key is required because without it, you will not be able to make calls to Google Gemini. So watch that video in case if you don't already know how to get the key. So I have pasted the key and now I'm back in that app.py. This is now going to be the main file where we're going to do all the coding. Our intent is very simple. We want to rebuild this page completely with all of the items as it's listed here. So I'm going to now get started with the code, right? So the first thing that you do when you have this kind of a setup is you say, hey, you know what? We have loaded all the keys. Now let me quickly give this page a configuration, right? So we'll give this page a configuration. This is part of the Streamlit. So we'll say page configuration. And the way you do it is st.set underscore page underscore config. And this is where you will say page title is Generative Geeks Nutrition Monitor, right? So nutrition monitor, right? So something like that, right? So this basically okay, maybe I need to escape this, right? So page underscore title is this, yeah. So page title is Generative Geeks Nutrition Monitor, and then we can even give it some sort of an icon, right? So let me just bring the icon. So we can say, hey, the page icon is this. So this becomes my page config. My page config is now ready. This usually has to be the first line when you are starting with Streamlit. This has to be the first line. I have already loaded the environment variables by calling the load.env. Next, what we'll do is we'll configure generative AI, right? So genai.configure, and this is where you give your API key. Now I just accepted whatever GitHub Copilot gave me, but my variable name in the .env file is not API underscore key, is Google underscore API underscore key. So whatever variable name you have in that file, that's the name of the environment variable that you should basically type here, right? So API key is os.getEnv. This is going to fetch the environment variable from the .env file that we have, right? So that's what this is going to do. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to do some sort of we'll do a method which will basically allow us to have Gemini response, right? So I'm going to say def get Gemini response. I'm calling this the method. This method will make a call to Google Gemini 1.5 Pro, and it will then give us the response, right? So I'm going to say, and it takes two things. It takes one input, and the other is the image. And I'm just going to say, hey, model is genai dot generative AI, generative model, and we are going to give the name of the model. So the model that I'm going to use is generate Gemini hyphen 1.5 hyphen pro hyphen latest, right? So again, if you want to understand how to list all the models that are available, I'll suggest watch that previous video. There is a step where, at this point you can list out all the models that are available and which have generative in their name or something, right? So in their meta information. So that way, which models allow for generation of text, and Gemini 1.5 Pro latest will, even the Flash and all of those will start showing up there. Now we have selected the model that we want to use. Now is the time to actually make a call. So we'll say model.generate underscore content. And this is the point at which you just pass the input and you also pass the image, right? So we are passing this as a list. So we are passing the image, which is the first element of the image list that we got. We are passing the input, we are combining them into one list, and we are sending that to the model, right? And whatever is the input, and you might have guessed, the input is largely going to be some sort of a prompt, right? So Next, what we are going to do is whatever is the response, we want to return response.text, right? So this method is going to make a call to generate Gemini, and using whatever response it gets, it is then going to return that response back to whichever method called it or wherever it was called from, right? Next, what I'm going to do is, in our thing, we also have some sort of an input image setup, right? That needs to be done. So I'm now going to write code for that. So what we'll do is we'll say def input underscore image underscore setup, and whatever is the uploaded file, I want to process that uploaded file, right? So this button will give you, whenever you select some file, you will get some input file, and that file has to be then shown, right? So user is going to select the file, that file has to be opened and then displayed here. That's the code I'm writing now, right? So input image setup, we're going to say if uploaded underscore file is not none. We want to check if there is actually a file. If there is a file, we want to say, hey, bytes underscore data is uploaded underscore file dot get value, right? So this way you get the bytes from it, and then you get the parts of the image. You will say, hey, these are the parts of the image. It's a list, so it's mime underscore type. So you will say mime underscore type, and you will pass this as a dictionary where the key value is mime underscore type, and whatever is the uploaded underscore file, you get the type from it. That becomes the mime type for it, and the data is nothing but bytes underscore data, right? So the bytes underscore data is that we have already, we upload the file, whatever is the file we use, we bring get value on it, we run get value on it, and we get the uploaded bytes, right? So this way you have the input image setup. What we are now going to do is, once this is done, we want to return image parts, right? So we want to return image underscore parts. This is what we want to return back. If, let's say, nothing was found, then we want to raise an error, right? So the error we want to raise is file not found error, no image uploaded, right? So let's just say if this method gets called without any uploaded file, or some nonsensical, or a value that doesn't exist, then this is what we'll raise, right? So this is what we are going to raise. With this method is done. We have the if else block, and the input image setup is done. Now what I'm going to do is I want to build the sidebar, right? So the way I want to do it is I want to build this sidebar that you see, the navigation, the upload section, the image name that it's the file name that it displays, the size, and all of that I want to build now. So I'm going to say, hey, this is the sidebar navigation that I'm building now, and we'll say st.sidebar. You can give it a title, like we have the title called navigation. You can give it whatever you want. I'm keeping it navigation for now. And then we are going to say st.sidebar dot header, and we have a header. If you see here, it says upload section, right? So that's the header. So I'm going to say upload section, upload section. So that's the header. And then we are going to say uploaded underscore file is st.sidebar file uploader, choose an image, okay? And then it can even say, hey, what are the various types that you want to allow? If you want to allow jpg, jpeg, and png. Now with this, basically what is going to happen is this is what is coming in, right? So you will get this sort of an uploader, which will allow you to then upload files, right? So choose an image, and the uploader, my thing is going to say choose an image. This maybe had some other name, right? So this probably had upload an image or something like that. Now let's quickly come here and build this header, right? So Generative Geeks Nutrition Monitor, our navigation for the sidebar is done. I now want to go out and say, hey, st.header, and this is where I'm going to say Generative Geeks Nutrition Monitor. Next, what I'm going to do is, if uploaded file is not none, if uploaded file is not none, I'm not accepting whatever it is giving me. I'm going to say image is equal to image dot open, and we are going to pass in the uploaded file. That way I have the image, and now I want to display this image, right? So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, the file has already been uploaded here. I have the header ready. I now want to have an image area where I can show the image, right? So I'm reading the image first. I have it here. Now I'm going to say st.image, and we are going to pass it the image, and we are going to say caption is whatever is the caption you want. For in our case, if you look at it, the caption is uploaded image, right? So I can also say the same. I can say uploaded image. That becomes my caption. And we can also say use column width as true, like, I'll accept the selection, the suggestion it is giving me. Use column width as true. Next, once you have this, we will next go out. We have displayed the image. Now we want to have like a submit button, right? So the button that you see here, analyze this food, that's the button. Sorry, that's the that's the button I want, this button. So let's just go out and say submit is equal to st.button, and we can say submit, or we can say analyze this food, right? So analyze this food. So this will become my submit. Now is a good time. We have the image available. We now want some sort of a prompt to come in, and that prompt should then kick in with this image and call Gemini, right? So the method that we have already built, now I want to use the submit button. Whenever this button is clicked, I want to call Google Gemini, right? So the way to do it is, first let's define the input prompt, right? So I'm going to say input underscore prompt, and I'm just going to bring the prompt that I have, so that I don't have to type it in again. I'm just bringing in the prompt. And anyways, this file is available for you as part of the description, so make use of it. This is the prompt that I have. You are an expert nutritionist analyzing the food items in the image. Start by determining if the image contains food items. If the image does not contain any food items, clearly state no food items detected in the image, and do not provide any calorie information, right? Maybe what I'll do is I'll just quickly make it more readable by bringing these things in new lines, right? So every sentence in new line. That way, at least I don't have to keep scrolling. Um, yeah. Any clearly state no food items and do not provide. If food items, start by naming the meal, identify, you can find, and then estimate, summarize. Yeah. So I have this prompt. You are an expert nutritionist analyzing the food items in the image. Start by determining if the image contains food items. If the image does not contain any food items, clearly state no food items detected in the image, right? So there can be a situation where you have this app and somebody just uploads an image of a chair, right? So you want the LLM to clearly know that if no food item is detected, don't go out and start finding calories that are there in wood, right? So nobody eats wood. um, at least nobody in the civilized world that I'm aware of eats wood. So, and do not provide any calorie information. If food items are detected, start by naming the meal based on the image. So we want it to first name the meal, right? So this is the food analysis meal name. That's what I want. I want it to first tell me that, hey, what is the meal name? And then go out and list out all the ingredients and their specific calories, and then give me a total of the calories, right? That's what the prompt is asking it to do. So if food items are detected, then I want the meal name and name of the meal. Ingredient one, what is the estimated calorie? Ingredient two, estimated calorie, total estimated calories. Finally, mention whether the food is healthy or not, and food is healthy or not, and provide the percentage split of protein, carbs, and fats in the food item. Also mention the total fiber content in the food item and any other important details. Note, always identify ingredients and provide an estimated calorie count, even if some details are uncertain, right? So sometimes what can happen is you upload an image and the AI might just come back and say, hey, you know what, I could not identify the ingredient, or I cannot respond because I am an AI, and things like that. And therefore this last point is just to tell it, hey, always identify ingredient and provide, even if some details are uncertain. Have you always wanted to return back some number, right? So this is my input prompt. With the input prompt done, now we are going to write code for the input button, right? So whenever the button is pressed, we want to say, hey, if submit with st.spinner. So I want to have like a spinner which says processing. So I'll have that kind of a spinner. And with that spinner running, we're going to say image underscore data is equal to input underscore image setup. And this is where we're going to pass in the input image setup. So this will become my image data. And now I'm going to say response is get Gemini response, input prompt, and the image data, right? So you cannot just pass the file. You have to have, this is how Google Gemini wants you to pass the image data, and therefore you have these image parts. This is the way to pass image information to Google Gemini, right? So get Gemini response. With this now done, you will get a response. Once the response is available, what I want to do is I want to first type st.success, and we want to say done, right? So that's what I wanted to type. Next, what I wanted to do is st.subheader. I want to say food analysis, right? So this is the part where it says food analysis. Now we are basically typing the done. The done is done. Now I want to type food analysis and go on with the whatever is the output. Next we are just dumping whatever is the output, right? So I'm going to say st.subheader food analysis and st.write response, right? So with this, now what is going to happen is my code in a way is all done, right? So we have built that entire thing in less than like what 81 lines, including all the white spaces and very liberal use of enters and new lines and all of that. My code is done. Now is a good time to just go out and run this command, right? So run this on the terminal. The way you do it is, because this is a Streamlit app, you will say Streamlit run app.py, right? So Streamlit run app.py, it's going to open. So this is how we are getting it now, right? So this is how we are getting it. I'm just going to so it says navigation, upload section, choose an image. This is what we had coded. If you remember, this is what was made available as part of the thing that we were doing. We have no image uploaded, nutrition, analyze this food, uploaded image, use column width, yeah, upload section. Somewhere we had put in, just try to see on the sidebar, choose an image, right? So on the sidebar, we have this. So I'm just going to go out and choose some image. It will give me this. I'm just selecting the image that I had already given. Now if you see this, there is no styling on this. First let's see if the run is all right. I'm going to press analyze this food. So I press analyze this food. It's saying processing. That's the spinner we just coded. This is the spinner code that we wrote, saying, hey, once you press this, I should see a st.spinner processing. That's what is happening. And now it says done. Meal name is lemon rice, cooked rice, and all of that, and says 620 calories. So with this, now your nutrition monitor is ready, right? So this thing is ready. Now we can go out and say, hey, you know what, let me just write maybe some background color and things like that, and let me just maybe add some custom styles. So I'll just quickly bring in some custom style here from my from the other piece that I have, so that I don't have to write it all again. So I'm going to put this custom style right after Google Gemini, Gen AI configuration, um, and then see if it changes the look and feel again or not, right? So with this, I'm now going to again refresh the page, and you can see my button is now colored. The thing has some sort of a background color, and that's what the style information which you can do with st.markdown. You can write down all of the html that you want here, right? So but be sure, like, if you don't know Streamlit, always be sure to say allow unsafe htmls, unsafe underscore allow underscore html to be true only for the html that you have written, right? Otherwise this might not render, right? It might block, Streamlit might block this html from rendering. This is what we have done. I'm now going to bring in some other file and see what is the response it gets. So maybe I'll bring in the corn dogs and see if it can find the name of the food and what this is all about. So this all of these images, honestly, I have just found from Google, yeah, by doing Google searches. It says meal name is corn dogs. There's hot dog. There's corn butter, ketchup, mustard, all of that, and says, hey, 355 calories. Concerning health, this is considered a treat food, not a consistently healthy meal. And what you can do is you can keep playing with the prompt, and generate this maybe as a table, right? So you can say, hey, instead of this as a numbered list, can you generate a markdown table for me, right? So it will give you, you will have to play with the prompt, and if you do that, I'm sure you will find a lot of interesting things. I do the same thing, and I recommend you do the same. So this was it, guys. If you learned something new, if you enjoyed this tutorial, do give me a thumbs up, do subscribe, do comment, do share, whatever is your feedback. I'll be happy to respond to that. Thank you so much again for all your time, and God bless you.